I've been working on cutting a hole for the steering helm in my dash. And so what I did was find the center of the hole carefully, and then when I drilled it, I drilled it with a hole saw that was a little smaller than the actual diameter of the helm, because the helm is sort of irregularly, it's got an irregular shape to it. Oops. And so I drilled a little too small, and then I used my Dremel tool and tried to slowly kind of work my way, because it's also tapered a little bit. So I just did little by little, and see areas where it's irregular there for like parts like this, and you can see that this thing comes up a little bit and back down, and so it sticks out a little bit more, and this is more narrow. And so I just did little by little and fit it in there upside down and worked my way. Then I flipped it over so I could then have this kind of set up, and I would set this in there. And so now I think it's where the helm sticks out enough. I'm going to put it in the boat and then mount the helm to my temporary setup over there, and see how it looks. Okay, here's what's going on. Working on mounting this steering helm, and I've got it where this opening is cut pretty tight around where that needs to be. And this is far enough forward that this little cap does screw on. That's the fill cap for hydraulic fluid. And then, let's see here, the clamp's kind of in the way, but I went ahead and used my 18mm plywood for that mounting plate for the helm to be bolted to. Just a second, let me get rid of this clamp. Okay, so this 18mm piece of ply, the way this helm mounts, there are 4 holes, there are 4 bolts actually come out of the helm, and then you just drill that pattern, and then the hole that this needs is a 3-inch hole. But what I did though is these holes, I drilled the pattern so it was slightly at an angle like this, because this decking angles down this way, because I wanted the helm to be straight up and down. So I had to make the pattern a little bit turn that way. It's like 6 degrees, I think, which I did. And so I've just got it temporarily bolted in with one here. And then, so my plan is to screw and glue this to these 2 supports. I did start with some skinnier ones like this, and I ended up needing to kind of redo them, plus I wanted them to be wider. So I'll screw and glue those to these, and then my plan is to bolt these 2 to these 2 pieces here. And so that way this will be removable, the steering helm, if need be. So I'll put 2 3/16 inch bolts in either side. And I'll use bronze. I don't have them. I'll have to get some, but I'll use some temporary ones for now. And so that way this will be pretty strong, should be really strong. And the way this helm sits in here, it actually sits, it kind of rests in this hole, so there's not really play there either. So it'll be nice and solid. So it's coming around, just a little tricky to get this right, because this, to cut this and give me a little bit of play to be able to get it the right angle, I had to make it a little, this is a little narrower than the width of that. But then this one is mounted flush to the edge, but this one, there's a little bit of an offset there. And just to give me the room to be able to get it just where I want it. And so I'll make the angle of that match the angle of the dash, which is roughly 11.5 degrees. So that's how I'm mounting it. I'm sure there are 100 ways to do it. I know there are, but this is the way I'm getting it figured out, and I think it's going to work well. So I started epoxying this deck beam. You remember from earlier videos where I cut these centers and moved this deck beam forward, so the dash will be forward. And so I've got those support pieces, and so I've started epoxying. And so I got that far for now. And these two here have these wider boards because that's where my steering helm goes, and I talked about that in a previous video. But so it'd be good to get these epoxied, and then after I get this done, these two, then I'll epoxy these support pieces on each side, and then we'll go from there. So I will have to seal all that up underneath with CPS, or actually not CPS, but encapsulating epoxy. So one step at a time. I'm still working on gluing up all of these areas where I moved that deck beam, and all of the support parts are epoxied in now, including the sides. And I just put in little spacers because I had gaps in there, and what I'll do once that epoxy dries, I'll sand those down so it'll clean all that up. But I put little spacers in where this deck beam goes. There's a little gap on either side there. And these two are also epoxied in nicely. And so again, once this dries, those will all get sanded down. And so it's nice and solid now. And then of course the dash will go there, and the dash will be removable. But after this dries, then what I will do is encapsulate all these areas underneath here, and keep moving forward. Here pretty soon I'll be ordering the hydraulic hoses that go back to the steering cylinder back there, and so that'll be good to get that in, because I'll then work on finishing the mounting of the steering helm. So that's where things are so far. So I got the first round of encapsulating epoxy on all the supporting members, and I also sanded off where I had those little spacers that I epoxied in there just to fill those gaps. And I also used some thickened epoxy and where there's still a little gap on each side, but the spacers go along the top. And so got all it encapsulated, and that side over there, of course, it looks all discolored differently just because of the way the wood got sanded off and things. And same, I did this side too. And those two big support boards that will hold the steering helm. And so yeah, it's getting much better now. And then the top, of course, I will fair that, give a little arc to it later. That's why I'm not encapsulating that top right now. So yeah, so it's coming along. The second round of encapsulating epoxy on all these supporting boards underneath on the sides and everything, and then this area is done now. Includes the area over there, and on the side where that's where I had to cut out the supporting boards where this deck beam used to be located. So I moved that forward. And so yeah, this is all done now, and so I'll be moving on to the next step of working on the hydraulic steering hoses. So I'll be routing those, and I order them, they'll be coming soon. And then what I'll need to do is route those, and I'm gonna have to drill holes in the frame members for those. But I'm getting there.